Hi, welcome to my first English speaking interview. I'm so excited to get to interview people I admire now that I open myself to episodes in a different language. Today, you'll get to know Yuli. She's an author, writer, podcast host, and health educator. She has been an entrepreneur for almost 20 years, and she's passionate about sharing her message to choose to wake up with gratitude every day. I'll leave her contact information in the description of the episode so you can follow her creations. I enjoyed so much learning from her about what gratitude has brought into her life, taking action, being open to changes, and living with passion. I have a surprise for you at the end of the episode, so stay tuned with us. Hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Hi, my name is Silvia Aguilar. Welcome to DESPIERTA, the podcast where we'll talk about tools that will help you awaken to let yourself be 100% you so you can manifest what you have always wanted in your life. Live it fully and give the world that gift that only you have. Welcome, Yuli. Thank you for being here for our first English speaking episode of DESPIERTA. I'm so excited and nervous at the same time. First of all, I love how synchronicity has been present since we met. Julie and I met in our business daily power hours, and we share so much that I think we both felt the energy right away. And Julie has a podcast also that you have to listen to. It is called Wake Up with Gratitude. Only by the name, you know we resonate so much. And in fact, she just finished her October 30 Days of Gratitude Challenge. And she loves photography. She has the most beautiful gratitude cards with her own photography. It's amazing. So, welcome, Julie, and I would love that you share with the person that is listening to us. What do you do?
Well, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for sharing me with your audience for the first English speaking interview. It means a lot. I know that it's definitely challenging when you are, doing a one language podcast and then you want to explore other languages. So good for you. I think that's amazing. Maybe I should do a French language episode of mine. So I love
Yes, you
it.
should.
I love it. What do I do? That's a great question. Well, I've actually been in business for myself for over 15 years. I am not a very good employee. I don't really like working for other people. So I've kind of had to make my way, as a business person and entrepreneur for many years. In fact, when I first started my business with USANA, which is how you and I connected, I was going to school to be a teacher. And I actually dropped out of school to continue and pursue my business on a full-time basis, which I don't recommend to anybody. I got, I guess, partly lucky and did the work and all these things that it ended up, working out for me. In about 18 months, I was able to build a full-time business, but I definitely don't recommend it. So that was sort of my first business, and that's still my core business today. But what my work through USANA has allowed me to do is it's allowed me to explore some of my passions. So a couple of years ago, I moved to Vancouver Island, which is off the west coast of Canada. And it is one of the most beautiful places in the world. We have lakes and rivers and oceans and mountains, and it's just really, really beautiful here. So I love to take photos. If you're watching the video, the photos behind me are all my own photos that I take. And that actually has grown into another business as well. So Wake Up with Gratitude is the other part of my business. And that includes the podcast, which you mentioned, which I started just about a year ago. It also includes my photography and my photos. So I do sell prints and canvases. I sell a set of gratitude cards that you mentioned. Some of them have words inside, some of them don't. So if you don't speak English or you want blank cards, I offer those too. I also made a calendar this year for the first time, which is really great. And then I also do a lot of, speaking around gratitude. I mean, less during the pandemic, but, I love sharing my story in front of a live audience. And I love doing a lot of teaching and coaching and mentoring, which I do in both my businesses. So that's sort of where the two meet together. So that's what I do. And I also have a daughter, she's 10, and she is at home. We do a version of homeschooling called Unschooling. So that's also something that I do for work because it keeps me pretty busy.
Wow, that's amazing, Julie. I will definitely want to talk a little bit about that unschooling. That sounds so
Mm.
interesting. Um, First of all, I would like to know, how is it for you? I know you said that you are not a good employee. I quote.
Yeah.
How is it for you to work around your passions? Was there any resistance for you at first? Are there some beliefs that maybe you change, or maybe some resistance for people close to you? How was that journey to change and to live now about your passions?
Oh, you know what? I will say one thing. I am married to a man who is very supportive of me following my passion and my dreams. So the first time that kind of happened was back in 2013. It was when I wrote my book. I have a book called 30 Days of Gratitude, the gratitude program that will change your life. And that book came out of a personal tragedy. So as mentioned, I have a daughter. She's now 10. And at that time in 2013, I was pregnant for the second time. And I lost the baby at 15 weeks. And it was very traumatic. It happened at home. I had to call an ambulance. Police had to break down my door. I went to the hospital, had, very, just like surgery, just like I'd been there for an hour and they're like, "Okay, we're taking you to surgery now." Like the whole thing was just it was over in like 4 hours.
Fast.
And it was just such a crazy time. And I came home from the hospital that night and I wrote in my gratitude journal. And I knew at that point that that I needed to share my gratitude practices with others, because if it had gotten me through what was at the time the most difficult thing that I'd been through, I needed to write about it. And so that was my first time. I'd been in business for many years already, but this was the first time I was really just running with a passion project. And it it worked. I did a book launch. It was really successful. The book still sells copies today. So in terms of following my passion, I've had great support. For sure. What I will say is probably where I still struggle today is creating revenue from my passions, not because the revenue isn't available, but because I'm still struggling with how to make, really good, solid revenue from my passion. So my book still pays me, but I definitely could not, keep the lights on with just my book.
Right.
Um, the USANA business, which is the foundation of my work, that is where my revenue really comes from. The business model allows for that. This is the thing that's so great. You build a really great business in network marketing and you build a residual income, you build an amazing team and you grow and you support that team and you continue to be of service to your customers. It gives you more freedom to follow your passions without having to ask, where's the money coming from? But now, like I'm, over a year and a half into my store, I really am asking, okay, where is the money coming from? How can I grow this store? And a lot of the skills that I learned in my first business is what's helping me with my passion businesses. And I'm treating them like a business as opposed to just a hobby or passion project. Did that answer your question?
Yes, yes, for sure. And I didn't know that you wrote the book 2013. I thought that was something more recent.
Yeah. It's
Thank you for
still,
sharing that.
it's so relevant. This is the thing about the
Of
book is
course.
it's the message of gratitude hasn't changed, and more people like you are doing more things around gratitude, so the awareness of the value of a gratitude practice has really grown.
Right. It's a subject that maybe it wasn't, well, when I was little, that wasn't taught to me.
Yeah.
So there was another question I had for you, like, since when, or when did you first started practicing gratitude? Is it something that you learned at home when you were little, or where was your first approach with gratitude?
For me, the first real approach with gratitude was actually when the movie The Secret came out back in 2007. And I know there's controversy about the movie today, but at the time, my goodness, I mean, it was just very powerful. And they created a set of secret journals that you could buy. So I believe I was gifted actually one of the secret journals from one of my parents and at the time, and I loved it. It was on one side of the page, you write in the present tense, everything you're grateful for today. And then you write on another page, your future. So what does your future look like, but in the present tense, and you're grateful for it? And it's a very powerful practice to say that what you're already grateful for, like to manifest in the real world. And so I did that for a while. I think I filled like 2 or 3 journals of that. And then for some reason, I stopped. Just like a lot of people, I got out of the habit and stopped. And then in 2011, I went to a USANA convention and they had a gentleman named Sean Aker speak. And he wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage. And he talked about creating a new habit in 21 days and to shift your mood and your well-being. And he said, gratitude journaling. And I loved what he said because it was, you write 3 things specifically that you're grateful for that particular day. And then the next day, you don't repeat it. You use something different. So I thought that was interesting because you're really focusing specifically on noticing that day. So that practice started in 2011. It's the end of 2020. So it's been over 9 years. And literally on one hand, I can count the number of days that I missed, with the exception of the time when I was sick in the hospital, after my second miscarriage. There's 2 weeks where I didn't write, but honestly, in 9 years, I've missed like half a dozen days. So for me, the gratitude journal in the evening it's become a way to record my life. It is a practice that is I just don't turn off the light until I've written in my journal.
Wow, that's amazing, Yuli. And talking about the secret, that was another question I had, that I like to mention that with the gratitude has to go the feeling, not just like words, right? So I love that you mentioned the secret because maybe that's sort of the controversy that also many people talk about, like that's just affirmations or things like that. What do you think about the feeling that goes with the gratitude, and what are your thoughts around that?
So I think it is really important that when we are doing our gratitude, that we're really feeling grateful, that we're actually feeling it and not just writing the words down. Now, do I do that every night? Nope. There are some nights where I'm just trying to get through it. But there are other times and moments where I'm really truly like feeling that deep gratitude for something I've written, and it's often something very small. One way that I've grown and changed my gratitude practice is I also now write down when I'm grateful for something that's not working, which sounds very bizarre, but it is a practice about being grateful for the stuff that's not working, because it does actually eventually help you shift your mindset. And it's really interesting. Like, I love to take pictures of the sunrise, but it rains a lot on Vancouver Island. So I will write, today I wrote, I am truly grateful to wake up to gray skies. And in the past, I would have been upset that I didn't have a sunrise to go to. I would have been like, oh, I really wish I could go to the sunrise. But today I was like, I woke up to gray skies. So, I didn't have to rush. I got to sleep in a little bit. Like, it's interesting how perspective changes over time and I find that this gratitude practice of saying I'm grateful for things that aren't going well in your life, it helps you get it out of your body, right? You're really big about moving energy through the body, writing down the things that aren't working, with the gratitude in front of it. I think it really does help over time. The things just don't bother me as much.
Right. I love that, Julie. I resonate a lot with you too. As you said, I love about moving energy. And also, I think that what's what's not right in our life, if we could call it like that, it's also there for a reason. And it's also there for us to learn something, that it comes with a gift. I know sometimes it's while you're living it, it may be so difficult to see the gift behind it. But I think gratitude helps you get to that point, as you said, like things don't bother you so much, and you start looking to the other side of the things now, of those experiences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Love it, love it. And I love how you bring together your photography and gratitude. Were you a photographer since you were little? Did you, or that's something recent? How does
Well,
the photography came to your life?
this is so interesting. What a great question. So I actually had a camera in my hand from the age of 6. My father is an amateur
Wow.
photographer, has loved taking pictures. My parents used to develop their own photos. They used to have like a photo lab in their house, back in the 70s and early 80s. So I grew up around photography, always had a camera in my hand, had a camera in my hand, like a real like camera in my hand when I was like 10 years old. So I've always loved to take photos. I started taking pictures with my phone back when I had, I think, the Samsung, I think it was the S4 when it could actually take pictures. So I started taking pictures with my phone and started slowly upgrading my phone to take better phone photography because I always had my phone with me. And my cameras, I hadn't upgraded my camera in a while, and the phone cameras had really improved. So it's so funny. When I lived at the other end of Canada near Toronto, I used to go out for sunrise, not often, but on a regular enough basis. So I was starting to take sunrise photos even before I moved across to British Columbia. And when I moved here, I really started wanting to take more and more pictures of the sunrise with my phone. And then moving to Vancouver Island, I literally like when I first got off the ferry and asked our real estate agent, I said, like, to come to the island, I said, where do I go to watch the sun rise and sunset? And he's like, oh, I don't know. It's like Neck Point Park, I think. I don't know. And the very first night that I was in here, like visiting the island to think about moving here, I went to that Neck Point Park and watched this like stunning sunset. And I said, if I can live in a place where I can see the sunrise and the sunset, that's pretty rare to see to where you can get both. I was like, I'm in. So I just started taking pictures, when I literally the day I moved here, I started taking, like, the next morning I was out for sunrise. And then a friend was like, oh, I kind of want to buy one of your photos. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so that sort of started the idea of, building this into a business of sharing my photography. So last year, almost a year ago now, I upgraded my phone. I use the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. I literally like use my phone to take my photos. Like I don't have a camera outside of my
Okay.
smartphone. So it's very different photography. There's limitations to it, but I make it work, and I've learned how to use my tool in the best way.
Wow, you make so amazing pictures. I wouldn't have imagined that it was with your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so and I love how you mix it with the gratitude, like with the gratitude cards and your podcast has one of your pictures also. I love how everything unites, right?
Well, now it does. It was a struggle for a very long time, to really bring all the pieces together and understand how it all worked. I had this book, 30 Days of Gratitude, and then it occurred to me that I really wanted to have a set of cards to go with the book, right? It's a lot harder to sell prints and canvases. Canvases are an investment, right? They're quite a bit of money, several hundreds of dollars. A print is great, doesn't cost a ton, but you have to frame it, right? So there's work involved. A card, you just buy the card. It's super simple. And for me, it's less expensive to carry inventory, and it goes the book, 30 Days of Gratitude, 30 Days of Gratitude cards. It works as a set, and it works as a challenge. And so it was kind of, for me, the card thing has really this is the thing about being in business for yourself and growing your passions is, like, as much as I wanted to sell more prints, that's not what customers wanted to buy. So switching over to cards has really helped the business. And then doing a calendar this year, that's for sure been my best selling item. I mean, people are excited to buy a calendar because they're going to buy one anyway. Might as well buy one from someone they know. And, for local people, we're very proud of our little seaside village here in Lanceville. So my photos are all from my little village here, from the beaches here. It's been very popular in my a lot of drop-offs in my neighborhood, basically.
Right. It also has a feeling for them, right?
Yeah.
Behind it. I love it, Julie. And I also like to talk a lot about how um, being and living what our soul desires. And I see that in you. And it's also a process. And I love how you've been patient and open to changes. How you just said you wanted to sell canvases, but you are open to what the people want, no? So how do you, is it unconscious, or I see you're super open and you trust in the process, you, the time we're living today, it makes people realize how open they are for changes in their lives, or resistance to being to the changes that happened around them. I love that you seem like an open person to that. Can you talk us a little bit about changes and beliefs, limiting beliefs?
Well, here's what I'll say. I've definitely tried a number of things that didn't work. So that's the thing, is I'm open to trying stuff that's not going to work. And probably having a supportive partner really, really helps. You know, having a partner that is okay with me failing, I think that really does help, having that support system. So limiting beliefs, I mean, for me, I don't really worry about if an idea is going to fail or not. I will give it a try. I do get a lot of intuitive hits. So for the calendar, for example, I used to send a daily gratitude reminder every day. For 2 years, you would get a daily gratitude reminder email in your inbox every single day, just like 2 or 3 lines. And I always wanted to make like one of those page a day calendars, you know, where you tear off the page and there's like a picture and words. And that's what I wanted to do for a calendar, but that's a lot of work. And, you know, I just was like, this isn't something I think I really want to do, but I want to do a calendar. And I was thinking, I don't know what, I took a picture the other day, like 2 or 3 weeks ago at the beach. And I said, this would be so good for a calendar. And I just got the intuitive hit. I was at the beach. I'm like, I need to make a calendar. And I did a little bit of audience check-in. I posted on the business page that we have for our little village. I said, would anyone, if I make a calendar, would people buy it? And people are like, yes, I would buy your calendar. So like, okay. And I just like the next day, literally just spent the day putting the calendar together. I sourced, you know, where am I going to get this calendar from? I found a local printer, which is great. I'm supporting another local business, and I just went for it. And, you know, now I'm like, should I buy more calendars? Like I'm running out. So I kind of do that. I really do. I do like think about my numbers and margins and all those things. I do pay attention to that. But I also just like really focus on intuition and, you know, what to do right now. And then I take action really quickly. So I knew that if I didn't take action immediately on the calendar, I would miss my window. Right. So that's really important. I think when you're talking about limiting beliefs and how you're thinking is like, if you get that intuitive hit and that idea and you just can't stop thinking about it, you really just need to go for it and then worry about all the rest later. Like I really dove into it fully. And here's what I'll say. I got a sample calendar from another company that, you know, the quality is a bit nicer. The paper's a bit thicker. Pricing was around the same. But I was like, you know what? I'm still going to just go for it and work with the local company because not only their quality is excellent. Here's the thing. My quality standard for my photography is here. My customer quality standard for the photography for 98% of my customers is here. What I am like, oh, this could be a little better. They're like, this is beautiful, right? And it's also like letting go of the fact that like I needed to be perfect for me, but the customers actually, they don't have the same standards. And so that's been a big learning for me is like, I could have ordered it from over here. Paper was a bit thicker, might have been a bit nicer, but then I'm not supporting local and I'm going for a standard that no one else is looking for. People are super happy with the one that I've made locally. And people are happy that I purchased from a local business. So that's definitely one thing I would say is the intuition and and then going for it, right? And just not asking too many questions.
Yes, I love it. It's taking action, listening to that little voice that you, that intuition. That I think that intuition is when you are so connected to your source energy that you can listen to it, right? How many
Yeah.
times we do listen, and as you said, you don't take action, so it starts shutting down, or the volume goes down, and that's why we sometimes don't feel that we have a full life. That's what I also love talking about having a full life. What makes you happy, what makes
Yeah.
you wake up and feel complete. No, I love that you have all those elements, and that's why you look so happy and that you're living with your passions, even though um, you have now a challenge that it's like a next challenge. You have everything up and running, so it's step by step, no?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm learning all the time. And it's also because I run several different businesses and the podcast and my daughter. Like, it's figuring out where to put my time every day is definitely a challenge. And then also taking the proper time to rest and recover and listen to my body and take a nap when I need to take a nap. So, all those things, there's more that I'd want to do with all my businesses, but this is where I know my capacity is, I'm working at max capacity right now. So I also have to be kind to myself and say, this is the best I can do right now. There are definitely other things that I want to do, but I might not be able to do them right today in this moment.
Right, having your patience and being patient with yourself also. I also see that you have your priorities very well established. So that also, I think, helps you to decide, okay, right now it's time for this.
Mhm.
Later on, it's going to be, what do you think about priorities?
Well, that's a tricky one. I mean, some days I feel like I have my priorities organized, and other days I don't. So
But I see
I,
that also you are like, maybe, well, that's what I see, like maybe a little bit like me, that you want things like pretty well done. And I think that maybe you are
yeah.
also strict with yourself.
Yeah. What's interesting is, like, if I decide I'm going to just get something done, I'll just get it done. Right. So that's the thing. It's like, I knew the calendar had to be done. Like, I made a book of my photography. See, that there's a failed project. But I made a book, a beautiful coffee table book with my photography, and it had a picture on one side and then a quote on the other that I wrote. But so expensive to make a full color book that, it price point wise, I only sold a few copies. So I could look at that as a failure. I spent tons of time like setting it up and all these things. I got it done, got it sold, and then it just didn't really go anywhere. Right. And so, yeah, I like to get stuff done, but sometimes, like, that's when you talk about priorities, like when I have that idea and it's like needs to come to life, everything else will like just go to the wayside for like while I finish it. So that's a challenge that I work through. But then I really I don't feel that my life is in balance. How I feel that my life is like, I do one thing and I just do it. And then I go to the other thing and I do it. And so if I'm spending that time with my daughter, I want to spend time with my daughter. And I'm not going to, count the minutes. I'm going to go spend time with my daughter and hang out with her and do what we need to do. And, just being with her, like part of our unschooling is just being with her, just spending time with her and just, being together. We do a lot of time at the beach or we go for walks in nature. It's a big part of the time we spend together.
Well, I think that's amazing because you're a present person. Like you are fully present and you enjoy it. And with that um, failed project, I I am sure that you super enjoyed making it. You learned tons of it,
Yeah.
and I think that's amazing. Like maybe we have also some beliefs that we have to get somewhere or do something like to be successful, but enjoying our everyday, I think, is the most successful we can be. But I know that that's so personal. But enjoying what you do, enjoying the people, the closest people to you. I think that's a privilege that we also have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And talking about the unschooling, I would love to know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably not something that's done a lot in Mexico, even in a lot of places. It's a type of homeschooling where it's more child-led learning and the child follows their interests as opposed to following a strict curriculum. And it's not allowed in a lot of places. But I will say this, it is a really incredible way to help your child to learn and to follow their creativity. So the one of the biggest challenges we see at school, and we know this, is that kids' creativity becomes really squashed. You know, they have to do things in a certain way, in a certain order, even in an art or a creative music class or whatever. You know, individuality isn't necessarily, I'm painting with a broad brush right now, but it's not really necessarily encouraged because it's very hard to have a class of 28 individuals, right? So with unschooling, you're giving the child room to follow their own interests, room to do things that they really enjoy, room to dive into projects. So my daughter loves horses, like really passionate about horses. We started horseback riding this year, but for example, she plays with this brand of toys called Shillake, and they have horses. And she made a barn out of construction paper or cardboard from no model and just figured it all out and cut everything and glued and tape. Like she will just create things. And it's so interesting. She can be so unfocused, like she won't sit still. Get her into a craft project that she has decided she wants to do. 3 hours later, I'm like, are you still working on that project? Like I haven't heard a peep from you in 2 hours. Like, are you okay there? Like, what are you? And that's what really unschooling is. And here's what I say about our children and the way they learn. So I look at my career as an adult. How many times have I learned a new job, learned a new way of doing business, tried and failed at projects, explored my creativity, learned new software, learned new programs, learned new ways of doing things all the time. And so this allowing our children to do the same, to problem solve, to figure things out, to follow their creative interests and learn how to do something new, I think it's going to serve her really well in the future.
That's amazing, Julie. I think, yes, we, it's painting with a white brush, as you said, but I think that conversation is coming more and more to the table. And I love that you're giving your child that opportunity because it's gonna help her listen to that intuition. It's helping her with the environment, makes a lot of our beliefs, our belief system. So
Yeah.
I think that you are giving her an amazing gift with that opportunity. And you're right, here in Mexico, it's a little bit more traditional. However, there are some schools that are starting to open a little window in those terms, and I think it's going to start to change. And these times also are opening a lot of doors,
Yes.
right?
Yep. And listen, this isn't easy. I just want to be clear that like having your child at home all the time, especially during these times when half the programs we used to do are just non-existent. So we are home together a lot and we don't have big circles of friends, right? For many reasons. I mean, we're in a global pandemic. We're trying to keep our circles small. So
Right.
there's challenges and we fight and it can be difficult. But I remember too that I'm also like, she's a child who deals with anxiety and stress and panic attacks and some social anxiety. Like this allows her to have less of that in her life because she's comfortable, because she's at home, because she's, really following her heart and doing things she loves. But this is not an easy path to choose, but it's the path that we're on. And when we first started doing this, it was out of trauma because she would no longer go to school. She was not able to go to school. But now, we're almost at 3 years doing this. Now we do it out of choice. some days I'm like, some days, but she, I look at my daughter and where she's come in 2 years, and it makes me really happy. And it, yeah, you know what? It's affected my career. It's affected my business because I can't just work all day long because I have those responsibilities. So these are choices we make, but you can have both. I am running my businesses and I am taking care of my child. And some days I feel like I'm failing at both. And some days I feel like I'm succeeding at both, just like everybody else.
And I was thinking as you were speaking, like right now we are almost everyone having that challenge, like having kids all day home, and you were prepared for that.
Yeah. And what I tell parents too is, like, if your kids aren't able to go to school right now, is I remind people to just give themselves some space. I think it's important to know that our kids are, with exceptions. Okay. There are exceptions. There are children that do need a lot of extra help and support that might not be able to come from home with special needs and learning needs. I get that. But for the majority of children, they're not going to fall behind if they're not keeping up with their work at home. What our kids need right now more than ever is like safety and security, and feeling safe and loved. It's very, very, very important because their lives are completely upside down too.
Oh, I agree with you. And also they are learning other things. They are learning, as you said, to respect spaces, to follow their own, like there's not a bell that it's now time for this, and so there's so much learning. And that being an entrepreneur, it's you are your own boss, so you don't have anyone telling you what to do. So I think there's so much benefits out of this, and I love it that it's a choice that you've made with your child, and that I think it's so worth it, so worth it. And I'm glad and I'm happy for those kind of programs to be here in Mexico.
Yeah.
Julie, so it has been so amazing talking to you and getting to know you. I love the way you integrate everything. And just before we finish, I would like you to talk about, I know gratitude helped you through the process you told us. However, you've been doing it since before that. So what would be like the number one benefit that you've experienced in your life with gratitude?
You know what I'll say is that you said I just finished a 30 days of gratitude challenge. So you would think that someone who's been doing gratitude like this for almost a decade wouldn't have a big impact from doing a 30 days of gratitude challenge. But I did. If I look at how we're going through a very, very, very difficult time with a lot of stress at the beginning of October. And by the end of October, 30 days later, things really did shift in our lives. And we're really, like, my family life and our home life and everything has shifted in a really positive way. And to me, that's 30 days. And I know you have your program, which you're going to hopefully, well, even if you're listening, if it's Spanish or not, but there, a program like that where you're focusing on gratitude specifically once a day, it really made a difference for me. So I have all these gratitude practices that I do, but these past 30 days have really helped me shift. And I do believe that a lot of the good things that came into our lives in the past 30 days, after going through, so about 5 months of really, really, really challenging times, I do think a 30 days of gratitude challenge has just massively shifted. So I highly, highly recommend doing that.
That's amazing. Yes, I think that gratitude um, helps you with the glasses that you see everything. So that shift makes all the difference. We are always interpreting what we live, what we experience. So
Yeah.
interpreting through gratitude, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing, Julie, everything. Uh, about gratitude, about passion, about taking action, and especially about um, listening to yourself, listening to what truly your soul wants. And I think that makes all the difference to live a full life. That's what we talk about here in Despierta. So I'm very happy for this interview. Thank you for being here for our first English speaking interview, and I enjoyed so much. I hope that you're listening um, enjoyed this episode too.
Thank you so much, Silvia. It's an honor to be a guest on your podcast.
Thank you. See you in the next episode. Bye bye. Thank you for getting here, and as I promised, I have a surprise for you. As of today, you can enjoy the 28 Days of Gratitude in its English version. They are completely free, and you can register now in the link in the description of the episode. You'll receive every day an email with your reflection and your gratitude exercise. Hope it serves you and you enjoy it as much as I do. Feel that power within you, knowing that all that you need is inside you already to make your soul's wishes come true. Commit yourself to trust your own process and know that everything is possible as long as you are present, here and now. The past is behind you and the future holds infinite possibilities when you choose to embrace being you. See you in the next episode of Despierta. Have a full day filled with gratitude.